girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dudes trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiled.
Hey y'all, how you doing today? We have a lot going on right now ahead of tonight's address, okay? And honestly, some things are just not lining up. So, we're hearing that the United States could be preparing to leave Iran in the next couple weeks. Mind you, they just got there, okay? At the same time, we're hearing that negotiations are happening, and then sometimes we're being told that they're not happening. Go figure. So, the question is, what is really going on? Okay? So, because right now, it appears that communication is happening behind the scenes, okay? But it's not being caught what it probably should be. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get things started with this right here from President Trump.
Say that within 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, maybe three, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile making facilities. We, as you probably read or wrote,
Okay.
we knocked out. Excuse me.
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war?
I think with 2 or 3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks. If it is,
We'll
3
leave
weeks,
because
then it
there's
would
no
be
reason
past
for us to do this.
deadline.
Look, problem with the Strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe." It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country or you can drop it. Or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship, or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the Strait. But I think when we leave, probably that's all cleared up. Today I heard tremendous numbers of ships were sailing through. We're negotiating with them right now. They've been, again, we have had regime change. Now, regime change.
So let me stop right there. So he's basically saying that, or acknowledging that, okay, Iran can put something as simple as a mine, in the strait, which they have done that allegedly. And he's saying that's not his fight or America's fight at this point, because from what he's saying, we don't even have a real need for the strait that the other European countries do. Okay. So sounds like he's saying that he has did all the heavy lifting, and now he thinks that France, as he mentioned, should step in and get the strait open, because I guess he feels like that's not one of his objectives. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments. Let's keep this thing going.
Regime change was not one of the things I had as a goal. I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job. And I think within maybe 2 weeks, maybe a couple of days longer to do the job. But we want to knock out every single thing they have. Now, it's possible that we'll make a deal before that, because we'll hit bridges, and we've hit some. We'll hit some bridges. Got a couple of nice bridges in mind. But
nice bridges.
If they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them. They have no navy. They have.
Okay, so as far as what Trump is concerned about, he's saying that his objective, his number one objective, was to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Okay, and that he's done all of this. He's hit all these different critical infrastructure that set them back at least 15 to 20 years from having a nuclear weapon. Now, that's provided if China and Russia doesn't help them accelerate getting a nuclear weapon, because you never know with that situation, right? But he's saying that the Strait of Hormuz isn't necessarily on his it's not on his agenda. Okay. But them not having a nuclear weapon is his main priority. Okay. So let's keep this going.
Military. They have no air force. They have no telecommunications. They have no anti-aircraft systems. They have no leaders. Their leaders are all gone. That's why we have regime change. We have nice new leaders.
So let me ask you guys this. Is it really a regime change because, the original leaders were unalived as part of the war? And now you have other people that have now, um, stepped into different roles. But these people were, I would assume, under the leadership of those who have passed away. So I would assume that they have similar values, if not more robust values, if you will, in alignment with what those original regime members had. What do you all think about that? They keep saying we have a regime change. I mean, so you have a regime change as far as personnel, but is there a regime change as far as like mindset and strategy when it comes to Iran? To me, I think that's a bigger question because you can end up with a bigger fool than what you was dealing with, if that makes sense. Okay. So what do we have here in the chat? We have Curtis Shines here. Welcome to the check-in, saying pray for the crew that is going up to the moon and back. Amen. Yes. Yes, it Artemis is that's what's going up tomorrow at noon. Yes, I agree. Thank you for being here. Okay. So as I had mentioned before, Trump is now saying that we, as in the United States, may be leaving Iran in the next couple weeks and couple days. Okay. Now you've had the people with the Navy, they have traveled for about 2 weeks, right? On the Tripoli to get over there. And then you have all these additional military forces who have arrived there in the last couple of days, special units and everything. And now he's saying that they're going to be gone in a couple of weeks. Now, I don't want to critique, but what I will say is is this really what the strategy was from day one? Was this the real strategy? I really believe they thought that they were going to have another Venezuela situation, is what I think they were hoping for. But Iran is a different animal when it comes to um, their protecting of what they feel is theirs. You see what I'm saying? But yes, y'all, he's saying we're gonna pull out in about a couple of weeks, and he's saying that Iran wants a deal. Now he's been saying Iran wants a deal for the last couple of weeks, and Iran was saying that the foreign minister, um, Aragachi, Arabachi, him, he was saying that they are looking forward, they are waiting for the ground troops from America to arrive. I don't think that Iran I don't think they're begging for a deal as what's been said, but maybe the president will provide some light on that at his address tonight. I'm really interested in seeing what he's going to share in that speech. Now, next up, we have the president for Iran. He's saying that they're ready for a deal, but he's saying that they need some guarantees, right? So my question is the Iranian regime, are they working with the president? Like you have the foreign minister saying one thing, then you have the president for Iran saying something, then you have the Iranian regime doing their thing. Like, are those people in Iran working together? If someone knows, please let me know. Okay, let's go ahead and get into that, y'all.
Iran's president reiterating that Iran is ready to end the war, but it wants certain guarantees. Of course, asks for guarantees that Iran has already made. The U.S. has made asks of its own in terms of what it would take to reach a ceasefire, a 15-point plan, as there is still diplomacy being pursued, perhaps at least on the U.S. side, though Iran has consistently pushed back on the idea of direct talks happening. All of this as the war is still ongoing. For a 32nd day. We got a status update on that and on negotiations from the Pentagon earlier today when we heard this from the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth.
The last 24 hours saw the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones fired by Iran.
Okay.
They will go underground, but we will find them. President Trump will make a deal. He is willing.
I think you're going to find them.
And the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity.
Okay.
We expect to hear from President Trump later today. He has an event.
Okay, so he's saying that, President Trump is ready to make a deal. Okay. I believe that Trump is ready to get out of Iran. I mean, we'll see some additional things I have coming up that he's like, basically, I think he's ready to pull out. Like, I think once he reaches his objectives, and if you were here on Monday, they kept talking about objectives, right? Hegseth as well as Carolyn Levitt. They kept hinting on the objectives, okay, and making it clear that Strait of Hormuz was not an objective that they had going in. So apparently, Strait of Hormuz being somewhat close to America, if you will, is kind of like mission creep, right? Because they weren't expecting that to occur, in my opinion. They weren't prepared for Iran to like put a kibosh on people going through the strait. And to my understanding, they're charging, like $1 million fees or tolls, if you will, to pass through that. Okay, Iran is not playing with the people. You hear what I'm saying? What are you guys saying in this chat here? Let me get caught up with you guys, because y'all are part of this platform here. Okay, so we have Jesus Crust 7021 says, do you agree with the war? I am not sold that we were in imminent danger. I'm not sold on that. Hopefully a little bit more clarity will be provided tonight at that address. I mean, if you're having a war for 47 years. That's what they were saying. Is that really imminent? And I would be interested to hear what type of intel did he receive that they are planning on attacking the U.S. So maybe if more clarity was provided to the American people, maybe I would feel a little bit differently regarding it. Because honestly, I'm pro-life, and I'm just not. We've lost 13 people today in this war that are American. I want to say Israel has lost 10. Okay. And we have at least 300 soldiers that are wounded and injured from what's going on here, right? And so I just really would like to know, and I know most of the people that are in Congress have said the same thing from what I've seen on the internet. They would like to have a little bit more information as into what is it that he knew that made him decide to go ahead and move out like this. Okay. And that is also why, in my opinion, that the other countries in Europe haven't committed their soldiers to this, because they're like, we didn't even get a vote in any of this. So now it appears that we're going to pull out in the next couple weeks. Strait of Hormuz is going to be in a totally different setup than what it was previously, because now you have Iran really controlling it, where they're asking people for tolls and whatnot. This is not what I think that the administration had planned on. That's my personal opinion. What do you all think? So we have Friendly Big T in the house. Welcome. Saying, what did we, and more importantly, the Iranian people gain if there is no regime change? I am disappointed. The only thing that has been gained, and is that what has been gained from what I can see right now, is that we have lost lives. Okay. We have people that are wounded. Okay. Um, you have oil refineries and infrastructure that has been damaged. Now that's not a positive gain. Okay, I'm just saying what has occurred since this has happened. Um, and I would really like to know. I mean, I know that he was saying, he as in Trump was saying, that he was doing this to help the Iranian people so that they can be able to, I guess, overthrow their government, if you will. I mean, have they done that? I haven't seen it. If you guys have seen that, please let me know. Okay, educate me. So we have Bully 51 here saying he made money off the high price of oil. I actually heard something about that yesterday, I think, when I was riding the train. Yeah. And then Bully 51 is also saying somebody purchased $6.3 billion one day last week and made $60 billion off this. They don't know who it is. Wow. I hadn't heard that. They made $60 billion. You already know what's going on with that. I ain't even got to comment on it. We got Mark Lindstad saying no strategy, what no way out. He's a liar. Yep. I mean, I'm not seeing a strategy. Like I've told you guys my perspective. I'm not a political commentator. I am just a person watching the news that is making an assessment based off what I'm seeing. Okay. And it sounds like other people are coming to that same conclusion on their own. I don't see the strategy. And I think the way out is just to, what, we're going to just leave. We're going to state what our objectives are. Okay. and we're going to say we met them. We're going to claim victory, and then we're going to leave. Now, mind you, they're going to leave, their partners, their Middle East partners in a pickle, because they got to still be over there with all this. So you're basically going over there doing what you're doing, and then say, okay, friends, y'all need to figure this out because y'all need this more than we do. That's what's happening. So let me know if I'm off base with this. So we have KJTJ3QH, welcome y'all, saying you should run for Congress. By the way, if you're here hanging out, please like the live stream, push me in the algorithm, and if you feel so inclined, go ahead and subscribe, support the channel. I appreciate y'all. Okay, so he's actually run for Congress. Why, thank you. I have never considered that. We got Friendly Big T saying, you are right. He thought it was going to be easy. America's still riding on World War II bravado. I see. So Bully 51 says 6 billion stock and he mad and he made $60 billion last week. Update the gas prices. It could have been Trump. They're gonna find out. Okay, they're gonna figure out who made this $60 billion. Okay. I'll be looking out for that information. We got James in the house saying hello. So I asked you guys if you were going to watch Trump's address tonight, and 40% said I hadn't heard about it. For those who have not, it's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, okay? And it came out very last minute yesterday. That's why I bumped up my live for today, because I wanted to make sure you guys had an opportunity to go watch it if you so chose to. But we'll be back tomorrow talking about that address. Best believe that. Okay, so 31% said yes, of course, we're going to watch it. And then 29% they're going to catch the replay. I understand, y'all. Okay, so let's keep it going, y'all.
Office scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern time, so that might be the next chance we have, unless he's posting on Truth Social, and he's been prolific on social media just in the last 12 to 24 hours with multiple posts, including one that urged other nations to just take it, as he said, either buy oil from the U.S. or reopen the strait on their own, saying get your own oil.
That's Trump that
the
said
hard
that.
part is done. Bloomberg Washington correspondent Tyler Kendall is back at the White House for us today and joins us right now with the latest. Tyler, we're getting a lot of reporting here that's sending the markets higher with a potential off-ramp that's being offered by the Iranians. Is the White House saying anything about this?
Well, so far at this moment, Joe, this is just breaking right now over the terminal. And as you and Kaylee already outlined, some caution here as Iranian state media reports that Iran's president says the country is ready to end the war, but needs to see some of those demands and guarantees, not necessarily new, right? Considering that we had reporting last week.
And I can't blame the Iranian president, because after you have tried to negotiate with someone and then, they turn around and attack you, a lot of trust is gone. There is no trust at all. Not for me, it wouldn't be. So I can understand why the president over there is saying, hey, we need to see some things, some guarantees, okay? Because the last time we tried to negotiate with you guys, you end up attacking us. That was last June, and it will be going on right now, with these attacks. So they're not going to just willingly trust the United States because of the precedent that has been made. What do you guys think about that? Let's keep it going.
That Iran had laid out a rebuttal 5-point plan to the U.S.'s negotiating stance, which included some demands, including pledges that the U.S. and Israel would never strike Iran again, that there would be war reparations paid to Iran, and also importantly that Iran would maintain sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, because the future of the Strait of Hormuz and how that is going to factor into any potential negotiation seems to be the big sticking point at the moment. As you well know, there's been a lot of talk here in Washington today about that Wall Street Journal report that President Trump privately told aides that he may be willing to stop military operations without reopening the Strait of Hormuz. That reporting outlining that the U.S. would instead pressure Iran diplomatically to reopen that critical waterway and then turn to allies and pressure them to help to secure the strait, which of course is already happening.
So let me say this. I remember seeing something about a week or so ago where Iran had already told them that if they're not going to agree to something diplomatically, that the U.S. cannot obtain militarily. I hope I'm saying that right. So I say that to say that uh, unless the United States is going to militarily take over the Strait of Hormuz, from what I gathered from Iran, they're not just gonna like, you know, say, okay, we're gonna let you guys have it. We're not gonna control it. I don't see that happening that way. See what I'm saying? So I may not have read it correctly, said it correctly, but I remember that being a talking point that they had in the last week or so. Okay, let's keep it going.
In President Trump's post on Truth Social earlier today, where he heaped on that criticism of allies when it comes to energy commodities being stuck as those disruptions continue, telling them that they should either buy their jet fuel from the U.S. or go in and take it on their own. Joe and Kaylee, as you well know, we did get that update earlier today where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ultimately said that negotiations are, quote, gaining steam, but that the U.S. is going to continue its attacks until a negotiated end is concluded.
Interesting. So basically, they're going to go over there and then leave. Like I just said, go over there and leave, and then say, okay, you all need to figure out how to get this shit of Hormuz. Oh, we done did the hard part. So you guys figure out the rest. Baby, I can't wait to see what Trump is going to say tonight. Okay, I cannot wait. All right, what are you guys saying here in the chat? Okay, I see where okay, Friendly Big T, welcome, is saying that Mr. Bill is right. Let me see what Mr. Bill had to say. Mr. Bill said, oh, he said a lot. He said lies. He lies so much. Okay, then one of Mr. Bill's messages got retracted. Then his other message said Donald and the rest thought it was going to be a cakewalk like Venezuela, but they quickly found out Iran is on a totally different level. See, I was just saying that. I agree with you, sir. Then we have Mr. Bill saying, by the way, a great documentary to watch is called Israelism with facts and history. Okay, thank you for putting me on to that. Let me write this down. Israelism. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. We have Aglioliska saying hello. Welcome to the check-in. Mr. Bill also said, and also the country was attacked, a sovereign country was attacked, so that the question is, do they have a right to defend themselves? According to Iran, they say they do. Okay. So, yes, y'all. We have Bully saying that, oh, Lord, I can't say these names, y'all, but Edrahim Zafagari said he wants Trump to apologize on TV and say it was a lie. Woo, okay. We're going to see what happened with that, okay? So, now we just talked about how they said that the Iran is ready for a deal, but they want some guarantees, right? Okay, so now we're going to see what the foreign minister Aragachi has to say. And he's so cool with it, okay? Let's get into it.
Abbas Araghchi has confirmed that he has received direct messages from Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff. But he also says that does not constitute actual negotiation. Araghchi added that there is zero trust for there to even be talks.
Now, hold on. I had just told y'all that there was zero trust. Did I not just say that? See? Keep it going.
Nothing like this exists right now. Countries usually send messages to one another either directly or indirectly. This is not called negotiation. But this does exist right now. We have received messages from the US. Some are direct, some are through some of our regional friends. And wherever it is necessary, we reply to these messages. However, no negotiation has taken place, and the reports about that are not accurate. Discussions through messages are ongoing, and Mr. Witkoff has sent messages directly. Like I've said, this does not mean negotiation. These exchanges happen during both peace and war.
So basically what he's saying is that, yes, we have been receiving, messages between the United States and everything, but he does not identify those message exchanges as being negotiations. And apparently, the United States considers that to be negotiations. He is saying that it is not. That they do this during peacetime and wartime is not negotiation. This is standard business. That's what I took from what was just said. Give me your feedback in the comments. Let's keep it going.
We have not given any response to that 15-point proposal from the US.
Okay.
And from our side, there has been no proposal either. The reality is that we have never had a good experience from negotiations with the US. One time years ago, we negotiated, and we even got a deal, and then the US withdrew without any explanation.
Wow.
And twice last year, and now this year, we negotiated with the US, and the result was an attack by them. And so,
Let me just say this. So this man just said that a few years ago that they negotiated with the United States, came to a deal, and then the United States backed out the deal. Then on top of that, you had negotiations last year, and then they end up getting attacked, and then again, and what we're going through right now. But yet, the media is saying, or rather, one person is saying that the people over there in Iran are lunatics. But it seems to me, if what he is saying is accurate, I wasn't part of the negotiation, but if what he's saying is accurate, it's like, why would they negotiate with the United States if they have tried to do so at least 3 times? And the United States either attacked them or walked away from the deal. But yet you seem to have people making negative statements about whatever deal that President Obama had came up with during his presidency. Because at least with Obama, he followed through with whatever he was trying to negotiate with Iran. Now, I'm not sure who was president during the time when he was saying that they had a deal and the U.S. walked away. I'm not sure under whose administration that took place in. If you know, let me know in the comments. Let's keep this going.
do not have any faith that negotiations with the US will yield any results. The trust level is at zero. And it's normal that when they propose negotiations, the first thing that is important for us to assess is how honest they are in the process. We don't see honesty. This trust does not exist. And for trust to be built, big steps need to be taken so that we can be in a situation where a negotiation can even take place.
Iran's foreign minister also told Al Jazeera the Strait of Hormuz remains open to those countries who are not at war with Tehran.
You see, with the Strait of Hormuz, the reality is that it's in Iran's and Oman's territorial waters. It's not in international waters. It's in our territorial waters and Oman's. So it's ordinary for Iran and Oman to use these waterways strategically. As of now, we believe the strait to be open. Only for the ships of those who are at war with us, this strait is closed. That is normal during war. We cannot let our enemies use our territorial waters for commerce. Ships linked to other countries because of security concerns, because of high insurance prices, or whatever other reason, they've decided not to use the strait. Some of them have come to negotiate with us, and we, for many of them, especially those who are our friends, have ensured they will have safe passage. And you will have seen the news coverage of countries that have spoken to us and have been able to guarantee themselves safe passage. Now, what will happen after the war?
Let me say this before we get to what happened after the war. So he just said that they consider the Strait of Hormuz to be territorial waters, okay? And they feel that's under their control, okay? They have had countries come to them to negotiate safe passage through the strait. Now, you remember that Trump was saying the other day how he was given this gift of 10 boats being allowed to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Then the other present was, I think, 20 more boats going through Strait of Hormuz. He mentioned that at a meeting, I want to say earlier this week, right? So are these, whose boats are these going through the Strait of Hormuz in these gifts? Are these American boats? Are these boats from other countries? Because if he's talking about boats from other countries, with those people negotiated directly with Iran, how is that a gift? So if somebody has some insight on that, please let me know. And I'm going to get to you guys in the chat Let's get through this.
That's something that will be for Iran and Oman to decide. And we will take into consideration our friends in the region and beyond the region. In our opinion, the Strait of Hormuz can be a peaceful waterway for peaceful use by vessels from countries around the world.
But Abbas Araghchi told us the Iranian armed forces do not fear the prospect of a U.S. ground invasion.
I've answered this before, and I said, we are waiting for them. I don't think they dare to do such a thing. There will be a lot of strength waiting for them. But we are not the ones who started this war. We defended ourselves, and we did so with strength. The casualties they've faced in their assets, to their personnel, to their radars in the region, to their aircraft. You saw what happened to their AWACS aircraft, or to their refueling tankers. We know very well how to defend ourselves. In a ground war,
Let me just say this. So you see how he mentioned what happened to the air refueling tankers. So you remember that KC-135, the two that ended up having that emergency landing, and one group ended up landing safely, and the other group they did not, and we lost 6 American soldiers in that. So it sounds like to me he's implying that they may have had something to do with that, because when that accident happened, they are very quick to say that it was friendly fire, no, that it wasn't friendly fire or something like that. I don't think that we've even really found out what caused that accident with those two KC-135s. Like I said, the one that landed safely, the tail had a little damage to it, right? But the other one, they didn't make it. Okay, so they made it very clear at the time. Oh no, there was no friendly fire or anything like that, and we still have not heard what was the cause of what happened with that KC-135. But he is implying here as if they may have had something to do with that. That's my take from it. What do you guys think? Let's keep it going.
we can do it even better. We are completely ready to confront any sort of ground attack. We hope they do not make such a mistake.
He said he hoped they don't make a mistake by putting them boots on the ground with the United States soldiers. Okay. Now let me put a question in here for you guys. Do you think negotiations are really occurring? We put this in here. Yes, no. Let's see. But I tell you what, I'm pretty sure that when we have this this address tonight, that may be something brought up, okay, by Trump. Now, what are you guys saying here in the chat? We have, let's see, where did I leave off at? We have Bully saying Trump is making money off the high prices. The government's not somebody purchased $6 billion and made $60 billion. Okay. We have Dave Krinsky, welcome to the check-in, saying, yes, we really need to listen to this idiot who can barely speak English. Okay. We have Mulchman saying no difference in Congress and their insider trading BS, both sides of the aisle. Then we have Bully 51 saying, well, the Iranian spokesperson said that America will have to leave the area and there'll be sanctions on Israel and America will have to pay Iran for all the damages. Yep, that's what they said. We have, let's see, what else we got here? We have Bully saying the hard part is done. He made his money. He made his $60 billion. That con man. Raphael Lee, welcome to the check-in, sir. Let's see. We have Bully saying Obama had Trump is going to make the same deal. Obama and look like the big hero, but the deal Obama made. Okay. Then we got Maria saying, please end the war. I hope it ends soon. I really do. Okay. I'm with you on that. Let's see what we got going on here now. So Hegseth, in one of his many press conferences, he is reaffirming the negotiations are real. And I know one thing people have asked, okay, who are you guys negotiating with? Do you know who you're negotiating with? That's been a question, right? So let's see what he has to say regarding negotiations. Get into it.
On the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the vice president and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this, great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
Okay.
Peace talk.
Okay, so he's saying that they want a deal. They want a deal. Okay. Open up Strait of Hormuz. I don't think that they're going to open it up. It's not going to be the way that it was before this Operation Epic Fury took place. I just don't see it going back to what the status quo was. I don't see it. They say the talks are going smoothly. If the talks are going smoothly, then why are we seeing every day attacks going on between Israel and Iran and everything else? Like I am seeing attacks almost every day that are happening. Are you guys not seeing that? How are you negotiating, but yet you are still damaging infrastructure and civilians are being harmed? And then I just heard the other day how they were talking about they are now, looking at American companies that are over there in the Middle East. They're looking at American schools over there. I don't see how you are negotiating and you're still constantly attacking and unaliving people that are innocent to all of this. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. What you guys saying here in the chat? So we have Peacemaker in the house. Welcome. Saying Epstein Fury's War. Okay. We got Leroy here. Welcome. Saying WMD 2.0. Bully 51 is saying no and saying the only boats that are going anywhere is to China and Taiwan boats going nowhere else. That place congestion with ships. Okay. Then we have Willow Jack official saying epic F up. Then Craig Benjamin is saying 32 helicopter that died on wreck that went down by accident. I don't know if I heard about that. Then we have Bully saying, did they're not gonna give you the nuclear material? You're not gonna get that. You're gonna have to pay them back. You're gonna have to get on TV and apologize for all the lies. Yeah, they're not just gonna be like, oh, here you go. And a lot of times it's all about that public apology, going on TV and saying that you were wrong. And I don't think that that's going to happen. I really don't. But, we're going to see though, because they were talking about, as you guys remember, when the all girls school got attacked, got hit, and so many of the young ladies there passed away and the instructors. And we still haven't heard the results from the investigation that took place with that. I haven't seen them. Have you guys? Yeah, I mean, those young girls, were at school and ended up being unalived. And, I think China said that they were willing to help the families who had lost. I remember seeing that. But yeah, I don't know, y'all. We're gonna see what happens with that. I mean, I would think if it was an American weapon that hit that school, I think that wasn't intentional. We should apologize. I do believe in that. I think at first they were saying, oh no, it wasn't us, that was Iran. But from looking at the footage that we were able to see online, it was definitely an American made weapon. So yeah. But we'll wait and see what the official investigation says, and go from there. Okay. But yeah, so now we have what we talking about, worrying about? Let me see what we're saying. We have Jose Perez saying, what would your opinion be if they would hit the United States with a nuclear bomb? Would you still defend them? I'm not defending anybody. Then he says, instead of worrying about this war, we should wonder why all of our jobs got shipped overseas in the 90s. I wasn't working in the 90s. I was in high school. And then we have Lorenzo saying, can't we worry about both, Jose? Then Jose says, yeah, we got to make sure we get our jobs back. Okay, so yeah. All right. Let's keep it going, y'all. So we have Mr. Bolton, and he's giving his opinion on what he thinks is happening with this war. And he thinks that Trump doesn't have a way out, and that and he wants to be out, but doesn't know how to go about doing it. So let's go ahead on and see what he has to say. And just for reference, this gentleman is a Republican. He was also, I want to say, he was a national security advisor to Trump during Trump's first term. He was also an ambassador to the United Nations, and he was an assistant attorney general. So he has a lot of, knowledge and background in this area. So let's get into it.
With Iran are very much real. That was part of this morning's message from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It comes as Pakistan looks to facilitate negotiations to end the war. The nation kicked off those negotiations on Sunday with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now to discuss much more about this. Good to see you today, Sam. So just how significant?
Okay, hold on one second. So I thought I was done with this clip, but the clip with Mr. Bolton will be on after this. But we have Sandra Gilmer saying it wasn't American weapons. You're not there to know, and neither are you. So all I'm saying, and what I did say, was that based off the footage that was provided online, when you look at the missile that hit the school, that was an American-made missile. Okay, now, like I said, we can wait and see what the investigation says. And that is why Hegseth was very cautious in saying that it definitely was not an American made weapon. Because if you remember on the plane on the Air Force One, Trump said, "Oh no, we don't target civilians." And maybe you do not target civilians. That is probably true. However, because they were targeting a military facility that was on the other side of the fence line of the all-girls school, which used to be a part of that military configuration. Okay, it was from my understanding, it wasn't targeted, but it was right there in the area of attack, if that makes sense. Okay, so just to be clear here, I never said that I was there. You weren't there either. But like I stated, I saw the footage of the missile that came and hit the school. It's on the internet. Take a look at it. Okay. And Hegseth was very cautious in saying that, well, we're waiting for the investigation. And then if you recall, after that, Trump started saying the same thing. Well, it's under investigation, da 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 da. And as you can tell, they have not said one word about the results of that investigation since this has happened. They have not. If you have seen the results, please put in the chat where I can find that at. Okay? I appreciate that. Educate me. Okay? So we have at Junk Fire saying, are they investigating themselves? To my understanding, the United States is investigating that attack that ended up harming those schoolgirls. That is what the administration stated several times. Yes. Okay. Then Craftsman said, I've heard it was Iran rocket that we knocked out the area. I've heard different stuff. I don't know. Yeah, that's what Trump was saying. Yeah. But then there was footage that came out that showed the tomahawk. So yeah. But like I said, we'll wait and see what the investigation says. But if you look at the footage, then you'll see that okay, that's not a weapon that Iran makes. That's why you have so many national strategists making those assessments, those speculations. Okay. But we can go from there. I mean, it's fine. Whatever you guys want to say with that. We have Craftsman saying, if an asteroid hit the planet, would you still be a Democrat? I'm not sure who he's talking to on that one. Let's see. Then Jose is saying, I remodeled houses by myself, so I don't have to worry too much about it. But I did have a good position once in a company, and I think those opportunities left. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, then we have Jenna saying that she's been a Democrat for 81 years. And we got Boom Bucket here. Good morning. All right, let's go ahead and finish this out, y'all.
Sit downs like this be in order to secure a ceasefire in the region?
Well, unfortunately, at this point, we don't have any public indications that the Iranians and the U.S. are actively engaged in negotiations with each other. We know that Pakistan has been trying to serve as a mediator, but we are getting conflicting accounts from the Iranian regime about whether they're actually negotiating or not. And I will say this, it is not surprising that the Iranians would say that they're not negotiating. It's not surprising that the United States and Iran would have different perspective on how things are going. These negotiations are unlikely to play out in public, and both the United States and Iran have domestic constituencies to worry about. So it's very hard to know what's actually happening behind closed doors.
Okay.
And importantly, even if the two sides are meeting via intermediaries, whether either side thinks that the other can be trusted. And that's the linchpin here, Mugo.
Oh, yeah, definitely, especially considering the fact that these attacks have happened during negotiations. Sam, one analyst tells CBS News that securing Iran's nuclear stockpile would be, quote, one of the riskiest missions in history.
Right.
You worked on the Iran nuclear.
Because I'm curious to know, how are they planning to obtain their nuclear stockpile? How would the U.S. go in and take it and then get it transported somewhere else during this contingency environment? How would that work? Let me see. Are you guys saying anything here? No. But also, guys, like I said, they did say that that school was hit by a tomahawk. Yep. And I want to say a couple weeks ago, we talked about it on the live stream here. And so that footage should be still available for you guys if you want to go check that out. Let's keep it going.
During the early days of the process. Can you walk us through exactly what the nuclear program includes and what it would take to actually dismantle it?
That's a good question.
Well, certainly, the United States has a long history of nuclear disarmament. You look at just Libya or post-Soviet republics like Kazakhstan, the United States knows how to remove nuclear material, nuclear assets like machines called centrifuges, how to remove that stuff from a country. However, the U.S. experience, generally speaking, is doing so with the cooperative government during peacetime, not while bombs are flying. If you now look at Iran, if we just focus, Mugo, on the stockpile of what's known as highly enriched uranium, this is material that could be used to break out to a nuclear weapon and then retrofitted with a warhead to be used for a nuclear weapon. If you just look at that stockpile of enriched uranium, we're talking about over 900 pounds. It is buried deep within the ground. And even if special forces could access it, safely getting it loaded onto aircraft, transported somewhere without leaking, and then ultimately repackaged and shipped to the United States, ostensibly, or a U.S. ally, is a very complicated operation.
Right.
So we really don't have a historical corollary to what the United States reportedly is reviewing.
Yeah, and certainly when you put it that way, it sounds like an almost impossible task. Another big part of this conflict is the war on information. How has Iran weaponized information this time around? And what can Americans here do to make sure they're not falling for fake content online?
Exactly.
Every American needs to know that the information environment right now is rife with Iranian exploitation. The Iranian regime is using a series of tools to both amplify false information, including about civilian casualties in Iran, about false attacks happening in Israel, in the region, and against U.S. soldiers, and more. The goal of the Iranian information war right now is to paint the United States as weak and to paint the United States as irresponsible. That means that all of our viewers need to really authenticate what they're viewing, whether it's
Yeah, the Iranians are very good about trying to control the narrative when it comes to, showing the United States as being irresponsible. In my opinion, I agree with that. Because if you look at it, we were just talking about the Iranian school bombing, not the school bombing. We were talking about the all-girls school that was hit. As I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, that it was not by happenstance that they used a facility on a military base to make into an all-girls school by segregating it with a fence from the rest of the military offices. Like, to me, I think that was intentional. Okay. So they will be able to say, if ever in war and that building gets hit by happenstance, I'm sure those buildings are pretty close together, right? A fence is not gonna protect you from, effects of missiles and stuff hitting. I mean, so they can be able to say, oh, well, the United States, they harmed several you know, they hit a school. Because they're saying that another school got hit. I can't find that right now, but I saw where a second school. Yeah, it's called the Iranian Sports Hall in school. They're saying that got hit recently. Okay, so these are things that are being done, and I'm not even sure what's going on with this one. But I know for the all girls school, they had outdated intel, is my understanding. I mean, even though that school had become a school maybe 10 years ago or however long ago, it wasn't showing as such on whatever the United States had for their intel, according to what has been reported. Okay. But let's keep this going, because I do believe that they are intentionally um painting the United States to be irresponsible. But guess what? That's what happens when you in war. Let's keep it going.
Whether it's text on X, on social media. And so our information hygiene right now needs to be at its strongest level possible.
All right.
I tell you what,
My colleague,
hold on that. So you're right, Craftsman. Craftsman says, sorry, neither side is going to tell the truth in public. You're not going to tell the enemy what you're going to do or not going to do. I agree to 100% on that. Exactly. So Jose said, I think they hit a college. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I remember seeing, yeah, they hit something recently in the last couple of days. Yes. And then we have Jose saying UAE is going to go to NATO tomorrow. I hadn't heard that. Okay. Then we have Craftsman saying, and what is NATO going to do? Lord, okay. Let's see what else we got here. One thing, okay, we have Craftsman saying, I don't trust much, but I trust greed, and the stock market went up. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Then we have Lorenzo saying, gotta be boots on the ground, right? I don't see how it's not going to be. I mean, I want the war to end. I really do. I don't want anybody else to die from this, but I don't have any say in the matter, as you guys know. And I'm not taking it up for anybody. I'm just stating what I'm seeing here. Yeah. So we have Mr. Bill saying Colonel Douglas McGregor on Iran war. Very good info. Let me write that down. Colonel Douglas McGregor. Colonel Douglas McGregor. Thank you. So let's go ahead. Now, this is actually finally the clip that's about Mr. Bolton, okay? So, yes, I'm there now.
Jane talked to the president by phone today, John, and asked this question: what has to happen between now and declaring victory? Let me quote for you the president directly.
What did he say?
Not much. We've had total regime change. These are different people than anyone has ever heard of before, and frankly, they've been more reasonable. How do you evaluate that?
Well, I don't think it constitutes regime change to eliminate a lot of the top people and have precisely people who have the same ideology replace them. The regime.
Now, see, I just said that about 45 minutes ago. You see? Okay, let's keep it going.
Is the Islamic Revolution, and the faces may be different, but the views are the same, or if anything, even more extreme. The president's talked a lot about how this negotiation has been going when the regime itself denies there's any negotiation at all. So we have a fundamental problem there. But regime change means removing people who believe in getting a nuclear weapon, engaging in terrorism against their neighbors and around the world, or closing the Strait of Hormuz at their will. And there's no evidence any of these lower level people who have been heard of by other people, if not Donald Trump, are in any way inclined to give up those threats to Israel, the Gulf Arab states, ourselves, and the rest of the world.
Is he telling himself a story when you see declarations from the president day in and day out as we have for the last couple of days, that the regime has changed and there's expectations on Wall Street and elsewhere that this conflict's going to end very soon?
Well, I think
Let me just say that he mentions the conflict ending very soon, and I just saw where Jose is saying, I think it's already been boots on the ground. No way we can hit all those targets without having somebody there giving us the coordinates. Yeah, I mean they have enough people there for there to be some level of boots on the ground, but I don't think I don't think they've tiptoed onto Hog Island. I don't think they've done that. They definitely got people over there. And then what we were talking about on Monday is that most of the U.S. bases that are over there in the Middle East, they're saying those have been heavily damaged. So they have the U.S. folks, military folks, kind of scattered out around the areas, is what they were saying. But we'll see.
Wants to create the impression that it's about to end to help keep the markets optimistic. That can only last so long. I think what it shows is he wants out. He doesn't know what to do. He hasn't thought through his objectives. The administration officials say, well, regime change was never our goal. Well, if it wasn't, why does it matter that we're talking to a different regime? I mean, I think there's confusion and real concern about price of gasoline at the pump and the political consequences. That's what's driving Trump now, not America's strategic needs, but his political situation.
I think
John,
there's
you've
some
thought
truth in
about
that.
this for a long time.
I think there's some truth in what he just said, that what's driving right now isn't strategic need, but more about visibility, popularity, because his, in the polls with Republicans, his likability has decreased. Okay. On top of that, you have a lot of Americans paying more at the pump because guess what? Gas is over $4 now. They're filling it in the pockets now. Okay. So now they're concerned about, the midterm elections and things. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, y'all. Sorry. Did I get kicked off? Okay, y'all. I am so sorry. I ended up getting a phone call. I thought I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, but somehow the call still went through. So let me get back to where I was at. So what I was saying is that I agree with what the gentleman is saying. I do believe that at this stage that Trump is more concerned with the image, likability, the polls. You have a lot of increase in what's going on with the price of the pumps, the gas pumps, up to $4 a gallon. We also have an increase when it comes to probably food with the fertilizer issue that they're having right now. On top of that, he has went down in the polls with likability. So, and you have midterm elections coming up. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back into it. I hope that I'm still where I had left off at, y'all. Let's see.
Knows you've been an advocate for changing the regime in Iran. That's clear. Do you think that this situation we are in now is more dangerous than if we had done nothing?
Well, in a sense, yes, because I do think many people, including the people of Iran, thought going back to January that Trump was pursuing regime change. And Trump had an example last year, the 12-day war that Israel and the U.S. waged against the nuclear program. We actually waged a one-day war. That's how you do limited operations. That's not the way this was advertised. And if we leave that wounded beast of a regime in power in Iran, it will build back all of its capabilities. The Russians and the Chinese will help them, and we will have suffered a significant strategic defeat. If you haven't thought through what you might encounter in an effort at regime change, weighed the options, considered the consequences, then don't start it to begin with.
That's what other presidents came to the conclusion about, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it was that seriously considered before. I certainly advocated it during the first Trump term, and it didn't get anywhere. And so did Bibi Netanyahu. So something convinced the president that he could do it. And he's the one, after all, who said to the demonstrators back in January, keep protesting, take control of your institutions.
Okay.
Help is on its way.
Okay, so Trump said to the people in Iran, help is on the way. Help is on the way. And I guess he's bringing the help, right? What do we have here in the chat? We have Jay Lowry saying, Bolton, you don't have the intel now. Okay. I don't think that he said that he did. I think he was asked his opinion based on what's happening currently. I don't think he was asked to, and if he had intel, he wouldn't be talking about it on this man's show. To be honest, anybody with intel is going to be close hold with the intel. He's only giving his opinion based on his many, many, many years of experience doing what he's been doing, which is being an attorney, being a national security advisor to Trump, being an ambassador to the United Nations, and assistant attorney general. So he's been brought on here to give his expert opinion. That is my assessment. So what else do we have here? We have, like David Zarowski said, the world is affected by Hormuz, and that makes fuel more expensive for the world. Exactly. That's why we're paying over $4 at the pump. I agree with you on that. Then we have David Harrison saying total ruin under misanthropic P-file. Okay. So then we have Mr. Bill saying, so that means they put out the narratives and speakers like this noting opposing to them. So that means they put out the narratives and speakers like this, nothing opposing to them. Okay. So then we have Jose saying the problem is not going to be if they stay in power or not. The problem with Iran is right now they're almost out of water. So you're saying that Iran is almost out of water? I hadn't heard that. Okay. Interesting. Let's keep going.
So, help doesn't appear to be on its way, John. And you talked about a wounded regime. For 47 years, lots of American presidents have dealt with reprisals from the Iranian regime, direct and indirect. Would a wounded regime pose that same threat, not just in the region, but possibly here in America?
I think that's absolutely true. I think the Iranians do engage in asymmetric warfare. We've had terrorist incidents in this country since the war began. I think we can expect more. That's why the Gulf Arab states, the Saudis, the United Arab Emirates, and others are saying to Trump, look, once this has been started, you can't leave us in a position where Iran becomes the dominant power in the Gulf. It's not just a return to the status quo before the war. It's a real uptick in Iran's power over global oil supplies.
Imagine you're speaking to the president right now, John, about this moment that he's looking into the next week ahead. What would you tell him? How would you advise him?
I'd say I think the process of regime change has begun. Marco Rubio yesterday said he couldn't tell whether the people we were negotiating with could really speak for others in the regime. That's the whole point. That's how it begins to come apart. We need to aid the opposition more, which we haven't done nearly enough of, and we have to keep pounding on the Revolutionary Guard and other instruments of state power to keep disintegrating it. This is still possible to win, and I would say to him, your legacy in history depends on one simple thing here: victory.
Reza Pahlavi,
because I can tell you right now, if Trump doesn't have a victory, a true victory, then that's definitely going to not be a good look for the United States as a whole, because right now, we're known as this elite, this great military force, right? And if he doesn't keep holding true to that, then that's going to be damaging to how we, how do we put this? It's going to damage how we are perceived by others in other countries. Okay, so like he just said, we have our relationships with the other, like with the UAE, Qatar, and all those folks because of our mighty military. But if we sit here and allow Iran to to quote unquote win this, then that's a power shift. Okay, and as you can see already with Iran shutting down that Strait of Hormuz to the United States and its allies, they have already did a power move. Okay, so they've already shown like, okay, we can be a real game player, we can be a real key player here because we own this Strait of Hormuz, per what the guy said, is their territorial waters. And so they can shut it down and do what they want with it. It's kind of the mindset that I see that they're putting out here and displaying. What do you guys think about that? So yeah, so Trump definitely has to win. And that's why I feel that they have been highlighting all the objectives. We're reiterating the objectives, our objectives, and we're almost done with this objective. We're ahead of the game on this, da 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 da. Like they're letting it be known we have these objectives, because when they pull out, that Strait of Hormuz probably is not going to be open. But they're gonna get up out of there because they feel that they met their objective of reducing Iran's ability to have a nuclear weapon and to rebuild it. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Let's keep going.
Crown Prince was at CPAC over the weekend, drew a pretty large crowd, and said, "Finish the job." Is he part of the answer to a regime that collapses and is replaced by something else?
Look, I think there are a lot of Iranian opposition groups here in America, in Europe, in the Iranian diaspora generally. I think it's a mistake to pick one winner beforehand. It's like measuring the drapes for an office you haven't won yet. We need to concentrate on overthrowing the Ayatollahs. The time to pick really not just new leaders, but an entire new system of government for Iran comes after this regime is gone.
John Bolton, always a pleasure.
Okay. So he has some good things, some good insight. Let's see what we got here in the chat. We have let's see, we have Mr. Bill saying, by the way, a great documentary for everyone to watch. It's called Israelism, very educational. Yes. We have Mr. Bill also saying, if we do our research, we will find out that Iran is not the boogeyman that's being portrayed in all these news stations. Much propaganda for sure. Okay. I kind of picked up on that when the foreign minister was saying how they have been trying to do a negotiation for years. And it seems like it's been the other side of the house that is not coming in good faith. That's what they have put out there. Okay. Then we have Coralie 336 saying you are misinformation. Or maybe I just don't think like you do. But I'm glad that you're here and I appreciate your engagement. Thank you. For those who are here, please like the stream. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to subscribe and support the channel. Thank you so much. Let's see. We have Maisie Mansuri saying Arab. Mr. Bill is saying Michael Bolton is so full of crap. It's annoying if you really have done your history searching. In fact, okay. And he says Epstein elite. Okay. Then Mr. Bill is saying even the civilians weren't even that bad under the last Ayatollah. If you look at overall, they just wanted to eliminate Iran because of their superpower and it's easier for Israel. Okay. Interesting. All right. So here at the check-in, people have the ability to give their opinions. That's why I have the platform. But I do ask you to be respectful with your comments. So that's all I got for you on that. So what else do we have here? Okay, so the next thing is when Trump was doing a speech the other day, he issued what I call an ultimatum, basically telling Europe to go get their own oil. Okay, so let's check that out.
Hour, President Trump issuing a new ultimatum to European countries about the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump taking to Truth Social to say, quote, all of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran. I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Go to the Strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. The president goes on to say, Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. Now
let me just say this. Trump is definitely not happy with the fact that these allies did not step in to assist him with what he has going on in Operation Epic Fury. And every chance he gets, he's making it known. Watch and see that on tonight's address, he's going to mention it again. Okay, let's keep it going.
The United States hit hit an Iranian ammunition depot, reportedly with 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs. That according to the Wall Street Journal. The president released some video on Truth Social overnight showing the massive amount of destruction outside the city of Isfahan. While the U.S. and Israel are ramping up pressure on the Islamic Republic, President Trump is still offering Iran a chance at a diplomatic solution. Iran has continued its ballistic missile attacks against Israel with 2 waves targeting central Israel last night and another 2 cluster munition strikes this morning against Tel Aviv. With a focus on Iran, Israel has expanded ground operations against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The military says dozens of militants were killed there in recent days. And today, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, announced that Israel is building a buffer zone in southern Lebanon up to the Litani River. The IDF announced that 4 additional Israeli soldiers were killed yesterday, bringing the total since the Lebanon operation began to 10 killed.
Okay, so they're saying that it's been 10 Israeli soldiers killed, okay? And as you guys know, it's 13 on the United States side. Let's keep it going.
Monday, a funeral was held for one of those soldiers, just 19 years old. Now the region waiting to see what will be said at this briefing at the Pentagon, as once again, President Trump is offering the Iranian regime diplomacy. If they do not take his offer, officials say this war will escalate. Guys?
So, Trey,
I mean, I can tell you right now, I understand, like I said before, you have the president of Iran saying that they're looking for, they're welcoming a deal with guarantees. The foreign minister is pretty much like, well, we tried to negotiate. We didn't get nowhere with it. There's no trust. And so then we still have all this bombing and things happening as these quote unquote negotiations that are not negotiations, depending on who you talk to, are occurring. Okay. So I just don't know what to make of this. Okay. Let's see. We have Mr. Bill saying the allies are smart. They're not trying to get into a mess that he created for nothing under false pretenses. Okay. Exactly how you think, Craftsman. You jump to that conclusion. That just shows how intelligent you really are at 47 years of age. So what did Craftsman say? Okay, y'all. I missed some of that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead on and get back to this right here.
we saw the attack on the Gulf states and on Israel. But can you compare the number of attacks now as opposed to 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
The U.S. and Israeli campaign against the Iranian regime has been very successful in going not just after the launching positions of these missiles and drones, as we've seen in new video from U.S. Central Command, but also, importantly, going after the production sites. What President Trump is ordering here is a decapitation not only of Iran's military leadership, but also of their production lines, so that in the future they're not able to threaten U.S. forces or allies across the region. And we have seen those videos.
And so one thing that Trump did say is that with what they have, obliterated, that's his term, obliterated and decimated, that it would take Iran 15 to 20 years approximately to, to recover those things. However, like I mentioned, if they're really in partnership with Russia and China, they'll probably get back up and running a lot swifter than that. Just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Let's keep it going.
Of decimation to the Iranian regime. This is a very large country, though, and that is part of the reason that these strikes continue, often on an hourly basis. And despite the fact that the Iranians can still get off ballistic missile fire and drone attacks against Israel and Gulf countries, their ability to do so and to resupply has been destroyed.
Interesting. Yeah, they say it's been destroyed. I mean, only time will tell. Now, we just did a poll here. I said, do you think that Trump was looking for a way out? 64% of you said yes, of course. 23% said no, he's got it under control. And then 13% said, is this the real question? Well, y'all, we're going to find out hopefully at 9 p.m. What Trump has to say, in depth, hopefully, about what's going on with this Operation Epic Fury and what the vision and the way forward is. I know he cannot say much because you don't want to tip off your enemy, but he has said publicly that he's looking to be up out of there in about 2 weeks and a couple days. He put that out there. So that just signals to Iran, just based off that surface statement, okay, can we hold this out for 2 weeks and a couple days? Or Trump could be, strategic and say what he's saying and then do something different. We never know what he's gonna do. Okay, he has options. Remember, he made it clear that he has options when it comes to this thing. So we're gonna have to sit back and find out and watch what he does. Now we have Craftsman saying, I remember Israel and Iran celebrating after 9/11. I don't like either one. I know my history. Okay. Mr. Bill is saying Craftsman just listens to Fox News, CNN all day long, and that's what he believes. Okay. We have David Zarowski saying, how many children were killed in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank and Lebanon as they were said to be Hezbollah militants? I'm not sure of the count, Mr. David, but if you know, please let me know in the chat. Because I'm telling you, it's too many, whatever the number is. It's too many. It should be zero. My goodness. Okay. We have Mr. Bill saying it is what it is. You can still be a proud American, the proud European, a proud Canadian, whoever you are. I call out your country's effery. Okay, y'all. So next up, we have Hegseth saying that he's basically telling the allies they need to learn how to fight for themselves. Okay, let's get into it.
Ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out,
One thing I can say is that Trump does say what he means. Now, what we're going to find out is when it comes to these deadlines that, I think the new deadline is April the 6th, right? So he said that if they don't have the Strait of Hormuz open, what he was going to do, right? With their energy infrastructure. However, I feel like with the changing narrative this week about the objectives and him now saying we'll be probably gone in a couple of weeks and a couple of days, I don't know if he's going to really hit those energy plants. But time will tell. I don't know, y'all. We'll see. And that kind of, I think that's what City Boy Almighty here. He says, hopefully not all dogs are bark and not bite. So we're gonna find out, won't we? Yeah, because I mean, he moved it, he shifted the deadline, and then Iran had a deadline for was it for today at noon that they wanted some type of acknowledgement. It's like they have all these deadlines, right? I mentioned it Monday. They got all these deadlines, but they're supposed to be negotiating. So help me understand. Why is that not part of the negotiation process? Well, America says they're negotiating. The foreign minister of Iran is saying, well, we've got messages, but that's not negotiating. So here we go again, okay? Let's keep this rolling.
Might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. And as far as NATO is concerned, that's a decision that will be left to the president. But I'll just say a lot has been laid bare. A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that...
Let me just say this. Undertake something of this scope on behalf of the world, but not provide these people the opportunity to even know what you're planning to do. That's the part that wasn't said. You undertook this effort, but you did not communicate with these people, right? Nor did you communicate with all of Congress. They did talk to the Big Eight, but I mean, as far as like going to Congress and asking to go into this war officially, that has not been done. But they have been providing updates, to the Big Eight and things of that nature, according to the press secretary, right? And yes, thank you, Mr. Bill. If you're still here hanging out, please make sure you like the live stream. And quite a few of you have disliked it, but that's fine. All engagement is great engagement for me. And if you feel so inclined, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. It is free, y'all. We got Bull Monkey here saying, did you see the link I posted to you earlier? I have not. I will go look for that when I'm done with the live. Thank you for pointing that out so I can make sure to look for it. Okay. And then we have Mr. Bill saying effery. Okay, let's let Hegseth finish.
Range the United States of America. They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an
The reason why, as we all know, that those countries are not allowing the U.S. to utilize their airspace and their bases, because if they do, Iran has already stated that, okay, if you do this, then we are going to look at you as an enemy, and you said to be attacked. So it's like that is why they're not assisting with that. And they also ask for more information and insight as to what is really going on. What does this entail? So, I mean, I understand why they feel like, okay, you guys didn't step up for us, but on the same token, you didn't provide information based off what the different countries have said. We went over those statements a couple of weeks ago, y'all. Check the old live streams. We went through all of the different countries and what they had to say. Okay. And they all pretty much said that, they haven't received any information really on what's going on or why, So let's keep it going.
an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out. And ultimately, it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete.
Okay, so I guess we'll find out once Trump is done with Iran, and then he says he has some things he gotta go deal with Cuba on. So I guess at some point he'll get to whether or not he want to still be a part of NATO. But the last time I did my research, he can't unilaterally take the U.S. out of NATO. He has to go before Congress, if I'm not mistaken, and get their consent and approval on that. Okay. Then let's see. We have Bull Monkey saying it's on your community wall. Thank you. I'm gonna go check that out. We have Craftsman saying you're telling people they're stupid, but you have not made one actual point. Okay. We have Ada here saying hello. Hey Ada, welcome to the check-in. Craftsman saying you're just quoting books, but no actual quote. Okay. We have Robert Tintoro in the house. Welcome. So now they don't want to assist us. Well, sweethearts, we are cutting over 70% of financing, and they can go take a poop. Lord, y'all is live today, ain't it? All right. So the next thing we have here, we're going to kind of move a little bit to the other side of the things here. And so you guys know that Trump has some plans for Cuba. I had just mentioned it. And so, those people over there have ran out of oil and they have not had sufficient power, right? So Russia is providing them oil, and Trump has, he's okay with it, okay? So let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. We have Saeed saying, good evening, private, gorgeous queen. Hey, thank you. Welcome to the check-in. We got Saeed saying, sleepy. Craftsman saying, you see what Robert did? He made a point. Yeah, let me go ahead on. Let's see what Russia is doing for Cuba. Let's keep it going.
After 3 months of acute blackouts, power, and petrol rationing, the news of relief from Russia is spreading like wildfire throughout Cuba.
Thank God. Now maybe our transportation will flow again. Thank God.
Can you imagine living like that for 3 months? When they had the winter storm back in Texas a few years ago, they had us on rolling power. And it wasn't for 3 months. But let me tell you, I had to make that time work, the little bit of time I had power, in my home. But yes, y'all, they have been without sufficient power for 3 months. Okay, let's keep going.
But Russian fuel won't reach the pumps right away. Russian rather than Cuban authorities announced the arrival of the Anatoly Kolodkin, a tanker that's carrying 750,000 barrels of crude to the port of Matanzas here in Cuba. It's enough, according to experts, for 15 days of badly needed fuel. But it first needs to be refined, and that could take up to 20 days. Cuba has been under a fuel blockade since early January, with President Donald Trump threatening to punish any country that violated it.
Russia, of course, believes it is our duty not to stand aside and to provide the necessary assistance to our Cuban friends. We are pleased that the shipment of petroleum products.
And I gotta give it up to Russia. I mean, because they was like, you know what? We see these people in need, and although Trump doesn't want people providing things to them, we're gonna do it anyway. Okay, so Russia, no, we're gonna get these people this oil to help them out because why not? These people are suffering for no reason. And Trump did say that he was okay with it. So that's the good thing. So I'm glad these people are getting oil to the region. It's going to take a while to process, as they said, I think 20 days, but at least they see a light at the end of the tunnel, at least a temporary light. Let's keep it going.
Has already arrived.
There'd been speculation of a confrontation if the U.S. used force to stop the tanker. But as it approached Cuba, President Donald Trump made a surprise announcement of his own.
If a country wants to send some oil into Cuba right now, I have no problem with it. If other countries want to do it, it doesn't bother me much. It's not going to have an impact. Cuba's finished. They have a bad regime.
It's uncertain whether this means that Trump will ease or end his campaign to choke off fuel to Cuba. But what he has made clear is that he hasn't changed his mind about taking over the island after he's finished with Iran.
For now, the next good news could be the arrival of the Seahorse, another smaller Russian tanker that's bringing diesel to Cuba. For a country that's struggling to live day to day without fuel, every little drop helps. You see.
Interesting. Okay, so shout out to Russia for leaning forward on that. And I'm glad that Trump was amenable to allowing these people to receive this much needed oil. He does have, a heart. Okay. Let's see. We have Anthony saying that's not what happened. Trump gave permission to Russia. Yeah, we just said that. He said he wasn't going to stop Russia from providing oil. Yeah. So Russia decided to provide oil. Trump found out about it, and he said he wasn't going to stop them. That's what it is. David is saying that NATO died when Trump failed to help Europe. And so I did ask David what happened. What did he not help them on? I'm curiously interested in that response, if you have it. We have Rick's Bevo in the house saying, my dad said Cuba was awesome before communism, like Vegas. Really? Wow. Craftsman said that's better. Okay, well, I don't know what's better, but okay, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself here. Yes. But yes, y'all, yeah, Cuba's getting some help. That's good. I mean, 3 months with no power or with some power. And they're saying that what Russia's providing is only gonna get them through a few weeks. And then Trump still has he has, I guess, plans what he's gonna do with Cuba, once he's finished with Iran. I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on there. Okay. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard about this beautiful ballroom. I mean, this man had a mock-up of the ballroom on the Air Force One when he was leaving some meeting the other day, talking about it. So, my goodness, let's get into that, y'all. Oh, but yeah, so he's really serious about this ballroom. And then, let's see. Norlima is saying he said he's not going to stop Russia from giving Cuba oil, but y'all missing the point at the end. He already said that's not going to stop him from taking over Cuba. Oh, Miss Norlima, I hear you, girl. Me and you are here. We here, Miss Nora. Yes, we are here, ma'am. Saeed said we don't know each other, just vibing. Yes, it's supposed to be a vibe. Craftsman is saying, okay, that's better, but Monkey is saying, Rick's not true. And then Craftsman is saying, I'm aggravating Mr. B. Please don't aggravate Mr. B. I want y'all to have a good time here, okay? Then we have, so he's saying need to invest in gas stocks, okay? So yes, let's get into this beautiful ballroom that Trump has.
Ruling from a federal judge today ordering a 14-day halt to construction of President Trump's White House ballroom. The judge says the president cannot build the ballroom without authorization from Congress, and for now, construction has to stop. Let's bring in ABC's Stephen Portnoy for more. Stephen, take us through this ruling and how President Trump is responding.
Well, the president, of course, is responding, and he's expected to appeal. But the ruling has Judge Richard Leon, a George W. Bush appointee, saying the president's not the owner of the White House, that he's a steward of the White House for future generations of first families. Congress, the judge says, holds the keys to the nation's property, and Congress has not authorized the construction of the White House ballroom. Without question, the judge wrote in a colorful 35-page opinion that has him using at least 19 exclamation points and 4 uses of the phrase please, exclamation point, dispensing with some of the White House's arguments in favor of the ballroom and its private funding scheme, which the judge has been skeptical of since this case was brought by the National Trust for Historic.
I'm trying to understand, how are they using private funds to renovate the White House that is owned? That's the people's house, right? How are they doing this? How? That's probably why the judge granted this 14 days stop. So now you got this big hole, I'm assuming, on the property that they're not doing anything on for the next 14 days. I'm just, and I don't understand why they didn't go ahead and get this approved by Congress. Were they afraid that they were going to say no? I don't know. What y'all think? Tell me in the chat.
Historic preservation. Now, the president, in a social media post, calls that a radical left group of lunatics, but they were successful in the district court, with Judge Richard Leon finding that Congress has not authorized the ballroom construction. He points to a 1912 law that says that no building or structure can be built on federal land in Washington, D.C. without express authority of Congress. Now, the judge has done a couple of things here. He has delayed the enforcement of his injunction by 14 days to allow for a likely Trump administration appeal. He's also established a carve-out here that he says that anything that's strictly necessary to secure the safety of the White House and its grounds, including the ballroom construction site, and provide for the personal safety of the president and his staff, can be allowed, but the judge rejected the White House's argument made as late as last night in a classified filing in this case that halting construction would imperil national security. The judge said, according to defendants, any construction delay will undermine national security. Please, the judge writes. He says that based on his review, he does not find that an injunction would in any way jeopardize national security, and that the hole that now exists on the north lawn of the east wing of the White House is, quote, a problem of the president's own making.
Oh. They said it's a problem of the president's own making. So why did he not go to Congress if that's a requirement? I'm just don't understand. I guess I'm just straight laced. It's like, if I know what the process, I'm just gonna go ahead and follow the process. And I get that he's the president, but there's checks and balances, right? What y'all saying here in the chat? We got David Zarowski saying Trump never talks to Congress. Yeah, I'm seeing that. That's becoming a trend, I'm thinking. Saeed is saying you should charge for all your potential talent education. Oh, well, thank you. What talent education do I have? Let me know something. I can always use me another check, okay? We got Craftsman saying, why can't it just be a ballroom? Why does it got to be a conspiracy? I don't know. That's why if it's just a ballroom, why not just go ahead and ask approval from Congress if that's what the requirement is? I'm not understanding why things are made so complicated, to be honest with you. Rick says there have been numerous improvements on DC buildings in the recent past. No problems. Private funds eliminate delays from the Congress, who's only in the way again. Okay. Now, they're building a new monument out there. I forgot what it's called, but it's supposed to be very grand. Because one thing about Trump, he gonna do it, he gonna be grand about it, okay? We do know that. So we have Saeed saying your wisdom, knowledge, spiritual discernment, revelation, education. I need a secret in a dream. Okay, well, thank you, sir. We have Carly saying go Trump. We have David Zarowski saying Trump wants to have a legacy in the White House. Oh, he gonna have that. Let me tell you, this right here gonna be legendary. It's one for the books right here. This presidency, honey. Everything he has done thus far. Okay, we gonna be talking about this for a while. I mean, we done been furloughed 3 times in less than 6 months. Yeah, he got a legacy. Yes, sir. Listen, we have Laura Lemon saying because he's either A, trying to build a mega data center under the ballroom, or he's trying to build a military command room under the ballroom. Interesting. Okay, had not heard anything about those potential aspects. That Saheed is vibing, eating strawberry shortcake. I know that's right. Okay, I know that is right. So we have Bull Monkey saying he's the president, but he's also the king of poor taste. Bull Monkey always got a phrase, baby. He says, imagine what the world would look like with his tacky sense of class. Lord, Lord, Lord. Okay. So we have Jose saying, I say it should be Trump versus Obama for 2028. Lord, I think Trump was talking about possibly trying to go for a 3rd term. You know how he be talking. Okay, so next up we have the announcement about the address that he's having. Let's get into that.
First, new developments out of Iran are breaking at a rapid pace. Moments ago, the White House with a major announcement. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, President Trump will address the nation about the state of the conflict. We will bring it to you live right here on this show.
Okay.
And according to the president, Iran will not be lasting much longer. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, he says the U.S. will negotiate with bombs until Iran agrees to America's terms. And
Now let me tell y'all, when I heard Pete Hegseth say that we will continue to negotiate with bombs, I was floored when I heard that. Like, I understand the point that he's making, but boy, that was a way of making that point. What y'all think about that? We will negotiate with bombs until they want to negotiate, diplomatically or whatever, however he phrased it. But yes, I was like, wow. Okay.
look at your screen. Last night in northern Iran, a massive strike appeared to take out a massive stockpile of missiles and rockets. At the same time, oil tankers are now making their way through the Strait of Hormuz as sea traffic is picking up. Here at the very latest from the Middle.
Okay, so they're saying that the sea traffic is picking up. That means that I guess more countries are negotiating with Iran directly to safely get through. Because one thing that Iran has done is they have shown that they can lock up that strait. Okay, they showed that. Next,
He's in Tel Aviv. Our very own Mike Tobin is with us. Mike.
And Sean, breaking news, we're following developments that another oil tanker has been hit in the Persian Gulf, about 17 nautical miles north of Doha. Was struck on the port side above the waterline. We don't know what the projectile was, but the best information we have right now is there's no risk of an oil slick or that the ship is sinking. As you mentioned, the president is going to address the nation in prime time tomorrow about the war, a war he says will only last.
So they said that an oil tanker was hit. Do you guys know who it belonged to? Should I just assume it was an American oil tanker? Should I just assume that? This is crazy.
Another 2 to 3 weeks. Meantime, information that there has indeed been communication with Iran and the United States. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, speaking through Al Jazeera, says there has been messaging going back with U.S. back and forth with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. However, Araghchi says the messaging does not constitute negotiation. Meantime, War Secretary Pete Hegseth says talks between the U.S. and Iran are active.
On the talks,
Okay.
I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the Vice President and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active, and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that.
President Trump posted a video of a massive fireball erupting over the Iranian city Isfahan. Multiple 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs were dropped on that target. The central Iranian city is a hub for military bases, defense industry, weapons storage, and a uranium enrichment site. There's speculation that 440 kilograms of uranium enriched just below weapons grade that had gone missing may have been at that location. Meantime, an American journalist, Shelley Kittleson, has been kidnapped in Iraq. She was picked up on a busy street. One suspected kidnapper is linked to the group Kateb Hezbollah. That's not the same as Hezbollah in Lebanon. The name translates to Brigades of Hezbollah or Brigades of the Party of God. They're both backed by Iran. The group is an emerging power in Iraq. A car in the kidnap convoy wrecked. One person was picked up at the scene where that car wrecked. No definitive word on Kittleson's fate right now. Sean?
All right, Mike, thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy. They have kidnapped that journalist. Let me see if I can find anything new on that. Is there any kind of update on what's going on with that American journalist that was kidnapped in Baghdad? Let's see. An American journalist. Why they tell me I need to pay for some? Okay, let me see something. All right, y'all. Work with me. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you go over there and you you run the risk of that. Okay, they're saying in this News Nation article, okay, that was updated at 12:43 p.m. The journalist that was kidnapped was also warned multiple times by the FBI as recently as the day before it happened. She was playing with fire. They specifically warned her that she was a target of potential Iranian-linked violence, and they likely knew she was a kidnapping hostage target. An FBI official told News Nation with direct knowledge. The State Department also warned Kittleson of threats against her, including as late as the night prior to her kidnapping, a U.S. official told News Nation's Libby Dean. A current U.S. official blamed Kata'ib Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed militia group with ties to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, for her disappearance, the Associated Press reported. So, wow, y'all, this lady was informed by the State Department and the FBI that she was a target for potential kidnapping, if you will. And yeah, it happened. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm literally reading this and learning this while I'm talking to y'all on this live stream. I did not know this. I heard she got kidnapped, but I didn't know about this on the back end here. So someone is saying here, Nelson, who was Nelson? White. Okay, Nelson is, I don't know who that is, but this person named Nelson is saying Kittleson's value to them is currently keeping her alive. She provides leverage and a bargaining chip to try to extort something from the United States, and they do have a vested interest, at least, in keeping her currently healthy. Interesting. So, did y'all know anything about this lady being kidnapped? I had never heard of her. I guess she's a journalist. Never heard of her before. I hope that she's I don't even know what to say. I hope that she's not harmed. I'm gonna say that. Okay? And that she's freed. But at this point, with the way things are going, I don't know if anybody is gonna be concerned about a hostage. I don't know. We're gonna see how this play out, y'all. We will see. Okay. What we got here in the chat. We have so he's saying distance ourselves from all harm, jealousy, hatred. We have yours 2 through 3 talking about put your Christmas tree up and get off YouTube. Lord, these people come over here trying to bully somebody. You can't bully me, baby. This Christmas tree brings me joy. It's gonna be up all year long. And when you come back here tomorrow, yours 12/2/23, it's gonna still be up. When you come back here next month, it's gonna still be up. So you should just go ahead on, like my live and subscribe, and you can come every day I'm live and troll and help keep my engagement up. You can do that. How about that, sir or ma'am? So we got Joy saying hello. Welcome to the check-in. Bull Monkey says there's a new boogeyman every day. And Bull Monkey also said something about a troll. Oh, Bull Monkey said, "Hey Kim, it's a lovely Easter tree." Oh, Kim was saying, "What's up with the Christmas tree in April? It brings me joy. I'm gonna keep it up all year round, Miss Kim. Miss Kim Burrow Stewart. Yes. So yeah, Sean. So as you guys know, they're doing the address. Trump is at 9 p.m. So another hour and 1 minute. So I want to go ahead and go live so I can let you guys go early so you can get ready for that. I will be back tomorrow to talk about it. So I'll be back tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And yes. If you got anything for me in the chat, we can stay here and chat a little bit, or we can go ahead on and end. And I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow evening. If you're still here, make sure you like the live stream, or you can dislike it. I'm good with that too. And please make sure you subscribe to the channel and support. Yes. Okay. We got Saeed saying royally, lavishly, richly favored, gorgeous queen. We have Nora Lemon say it's not just a Christmas tree, it's an all year round seasonal tree. Yes, it is, ma'am. This tree brings me joy. When I come home, I'm glad to see this tree when I come in here. Yes. We have Jose saying another issue you should find out more info about is that the foreclosures are on the upswing. The house where all the houses were overinflated, and I believe after the elections probably crashed. So Boo Monkey said the link is relevant. Don't forget, I will not, sir. I'm going to report back tomorrow. That's my homework, okay? So thank you for your support, Mr. Bull Monkey. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of y'all for being here supporting your girl, okay? Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and log off. You guys have a great night. Have a great day tomorrow, and I will see you tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Bye. Have a good night.